pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen it's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side, man open, touchdown! Looking deep, he's got a man! Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason on a Thursday. Sans Neil Driscoll, as he is at a business conference, I believe it is, living La Vida Loca right now. Over 160 of you already in that room. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. We got a good one today, because we had an interesting topic yesterday that we didn't really get to as well, but I kind of wanted to keep it for myself because I wanted to talk about it with all of y'all. So, man, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Jason Sanders' contract restructure, the cap space it created, and what that could mean going forward, including some names I know I myself am keeping an eye on. So you're going to like that. We're going to dive into Tua versus Hurts. Round one. You know we got to. We got a lot of stuff to talk about that because, you know, it's a topic that's being discussed right now, so we're going to discuss it over here. You already know what time it is. But before we get into everything, please do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new. Appreciate all you continuing to support the channel. You can donate if you'd like through PayPal, through the super chat, or you can become a Patreon or channel member. Keep it up to date. I will have a 3 takes video. I don't know when. Maybe it comes tonight. Maybe it comes tomorrow. I don't know. But it's coming in the next 24-ish hours. And there'll be some things I'll be talking about on that, including Jalen, Ramsey, and more. So if you're a Patreon or a channel member, I will probably have a channel member written version update of some of the things I talk about on this 3 takes for all y'all, because some of them are gonna some of the info in that 3 take show is gonna interest all of you. So you can become a Patreon, patreon.com/Phinside The NFL, or you can become a channel member just by hitting that join button, and then there's multiple tiers you can choose from, and you'll have access to all that info plus a whole lot more info that's been up lately. So check that out. Speaking of the Patreons and channel members, I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting the channel, supporting the show any way you can. And hey, if you're not on this list, if you're not a Patreon member or you're not a channel member, that's fine. I mean, go ahead and become one if you'd like. But at the same time, you don't have to. All you got to do is smash that like button. And if you're new here, just subscribe. It's free, costs you nothing, takes less than 5 seconds. Do me the favor. Fins up to all of y'all. Love each and every one of you. You already know what time it is. From the channel members to the Patreon members, all of y'all are amazing. Even all of you that are just subscribers are amazing. I love all of y'all for being subscribed to this channel and keeping it rolling as we are on our way to 13K, and we do it naturally, organic. The couple things we don't do over on this channel is we don't lie, we don't spread misinformation, and we don't do things non-organically by buying subs and viewers and such. So I appreciate all y'all who keep it real with me, the realest out here in the Dolphins YouTube community. Let's be honest with ourselves. So let's get into this before we get into all the information I got for y'all. Now I want to talk about, I got a few things I do want to talk about. Now, you know, Xavien Howard, I was told Xavien Howard, that thing is lingering. It is, you know, obviously the same nagging issue from last year, and even Xavien Howard himself views himself as day-to-day. So the groin is definitely something to watch, and it's lingering, especially when we're coming into a matchup with A.J. Brown and company. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out with X as we progress. I mean, tomorrow when you join me for the preview show, as always, we'll have the final injury report of the week heading into the weekend. So there's going to be a lot to go over there. So be out on the lookout for that. Another thing too, we're going to talk about some names I'm keeping an eye on, and when we get into them creating the cap space and such. But Miami, and I saw this pushed on Twitter yesterday, and I've seen it going around. Listen, Miami doesn't need Derrick Henry. Okay. Achan's going to be back for the Chiefs game. They just got Jeff Wilson back. Obviously, we're waiting to hear more about Chris Brooks on how serious that is because it's week to week at this point. But in terms of, listen, I wanted Jonathan Taylor and all those guys just as much as anyone. And here's the deal. When I told all of you this, when we were pursuing Cook, what did I say? I said if we get Cook, at worst, Achan's running back 2 by the trade deadline. And if we don't get Cook, at worst, he could be running back 1. And sure enough, had he not get hurt, Achan would probably be running back 1 by week 8 here. But, the variables were, okay, heading into the season, it wasn't even the 4.9 stuff for me, It was what happened in December and January. That's what the question was to me. Because other than being okay against the Jets and Mostert having a great game against the Bills in that December game, Mostert couldn't go for the playoff game. Jeff Wilson had like 10 carries for 29 yards in the playoff game. That's where I was at. When it was on the line, someone said I'm on Cuban time. When you had to put your cojones on the table, the running game just didn't deliver last year in December and January. That's where I was at. And then that's where I was at with Mostert and Wilson and such. Now, in terms of Achan, everyone knows I started the Achan train. Everyone knows I'm the biggest Achan fan in this community because I've been talking about this kid for almost 2 years on this show, okay? And we've only drafted him, in April. So that tells you how long I've been talking about this kid. Listen, here's the thing. What did I say with him? He's just an unknown. We don't know what we're getting yet because he hasn't performed at the NFL level. I love what I saw at college, but all that goes out the window when you get to the NFL. And you know what? Said it when he started going off, and I'll repeat it again. He answered the call. He answered the call. He showed what he was made of when the bright lights came on. So I don't see the need for Derrick Henry. I don't see the need for a Saquon Barkley. I don't see a need for a Josh Jacobs, one of these guys you could even get on short term right now, right? I don't see a need. Mostert is bulked up and looks like he's in the best shape to make it until February. Let's go, baby. And he's playing the best ball of his life. I've said this before, I'll say again. Raheem Mostert's playing better ball. Even with the fumbles, he's playing better ball than what he played in that 2019 run with the San Francisco 49ers. And if you don't remember what I'm talking about, go back. The guy had like a 220-yard game in the NFC Championship. He's playing better ball than that right now. He's more consistent. He's playing at a high level right now. So that's not a need right now. So Derrick Henry, these running backs, no. I'm telling y'all, these are the needs. Interior defensive line, interior linebacker, and if you can find a really viable backup center or guard who has backup center, has played it before, those are the moves I'd be looking at. And, right now, even talking about running backs, a guy like Saquon Barkley, he reiterated today he wants to stay in New York. He doesn't even want to trade out of New York. So, listen, I think you got to look at the real needs here. I see people out here, man. I'm watching people out here saying we should trade for Chase Young. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not need Chase Young. Okay? We just don't. We don't need... I saw people out here doing, these big ordeals about trading for Chase Young. We don't need Chase Young. We're good on edge rushers. Chase Young needs a new contract, and you need to give up assets for him. And Chase Young is not a player you paid twice for right now. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. You already gave this money to Bradley Chubb, and right now we're all regretting it. You're not giving it to Chase Young because you can regret it even further because Jalen Phillips is better than Chase Young. So why would you add that? Jalen Phillips, you got to keep getting him his reps. AVG, let's be honest, you got to find a way after this season where you could potentially move off Chubb's contract if he doesn't keep playing like how he played last week and he doesn't keep getting better. You got to find a way to pay AVG in this system and then keep the money free for Jalen Phillips. You're not trading for Chase Young. People out here, Buda Baker, were ridiculous stuff. I saw someone talking about we should trade for like Buda Baker and Jeremy Chin. Like, just people who claim to even cover this team don't even know our needs right now. It's hilarious. But, right now it's interior defensive line because Raekwon needs to go. You need to replace Raekwon. Right now, Raekwon needs to be replaced, or you need a guy that's going to, push him to be better. And you need a guy that's either going to replace or push Jerome Baker to be better. All right? So we're going to get into that. But, we don't need Derrick Henry. We don't need a cornerback. We don't need a safety. We're going to get into it in just a second here. But, we need interior linebacker, a nose tackle, interior defensive line help, and if you're not confident in Liam Eichenberg, you need a competent guard who can play, who has reps at playing center, or you need a competent backup center, like a Bradley Bozeman. Do you trade like with the Carolina Panthers for Bradley Bozeman? I don't know. But you need interior linebacker, you need interior defensive tackle help, and nose tackle, and you need a potentially better option at center if this Connor Williams thing is going to be nagging and something we're dealing with all year. You want to get away with Liam Eichenberg there, 1, 2, 3 games, fine. But if this is going to be something where we're preparing heading into the freaking playoffs without Connor, I need something better than Liam Eichenberg for that run. I'm sorry. Those are the needs that have been ID'd right now. All right? And anyone who knows this team and knows ball should know that. Out here watching people saying we should trade for nickelbacks, freaking, like, it's just ridiculous. Like, safeties and defensive ends, like, edge rushers. No. All right. So let's get into all of this. We got a lot to go over here, and let's start off with this. Let's start off with we'll start off with some good news for the day before we get into my cap space stuff. And Connor Williams said he's optimistic for Sunday. Confirmed he re-aggravated that groin in the Giants game. This is very positive. But you also have to ask yourself, listen, let's have a real conversation right now, everyone in the chat. Let's have a real conversation right now. Let's have a real conversation. Now, this game against Philly, in the locker room, they measure it they can look at it as a measuring stick. I think fans and people who cover this team, whether in the media, on YouTube, Twitter, wherever, it feels like people are hyping this up now to be a bigger game than it matters, than it really is. And I've been saying this three-game stretch, is going to show us what this team is made of a little bit. I didn't hone in on one game. I said the whole 3-game stretch. Guys, it's week 7. And I said yesterday, this game is just as big for Philadelphia as it is for us. I mean, they're having problems scoring points right now offensively. But let's remember, it's week 7. Playoff implications, playoff seeding games, hell, playoff games. Those are going to matter a whole lot more this season than this right now. Now, I think we got fans in their feelings who are being underappreciative of this team being 5-1 for the first time in 20 plus years, and this thing of, they beat bad teams. Listen, if you actually are a fan of the Dolphins, if you actually watch the Dolphins over the last 20 years, and guess what? Against Carolina, the old Dolphins of the last 18 years would have played down to that competition, would have either squeaked out a victory against the Panthers or lost that game. If you're a true fan of the Dolphins, you know that outside that Ricky, JT, Zach Taylor era, Zach Thomas era, that JT, Zach Thomas, Ricky era, outside of that, and maybe the 2016 team with the unicorn line, but then again, Tannehill got hurt, we would have lost that game against the Panthers. We would have either lost it or we would have squeaked out a victory by playing down. But we came out and just blew them out. And if it wasn't for a Mike White pick six, we would have scored 42 straight points. You play who's put on the schedule. All right? I go back to this. We blew out the Giants. The Bills barely beat the Giants. What are we talking about right now? And people are trying to say we're not blowing out teams or teams that are good. Listen, if you take out that margin of victory against Denver, we are still, that 50-point margin, you take that away, we are still beating teams on an average margin point of victory of 11 points. Guess what? In the NFL, when you win by 11 points or more, that's a blowout in the NFL now. All right? You got these people who casually watch college football and casually watch the NFL, and they're getting things mixed up. So, listen. Connor's coming back. And, hey, week 7, this is the conversation you got to have. Should you be continuing to rest him? Should you be continuing to rest Connor Williams, given we just saw? Now, I understand, Jalen. I'm the first one that'll tell you. Everyone knows I would have traded Christian Wilkins in the offseason straight up for the pick to select Jalen Carter, and I'll still do it. Okay? So I know, and like Fletcher Cox, you don't got to tell me how good that line is over there. Everyone knows, my second team back in the day used to be the Eagles. I watched them, Listen, I'm just saying. I know how good that front is, but I also know this game might be more of important, and fans are treating it more like the end-all, be-all than the players are. The players view it more as a measuring stick. Some fans out here are entering it like, oh, they got to win this game. They've got to prove to me. They don't got to prove to you nothing. They don't got to prove to you. They don't got to prove to me. They don't got to prove to her. They don't got to prove to him. They don't got to prove to all of us. They don't got to prove to they, them, whatever. And whatever binary term or non-binary term you want to use, enter there. They don't got to prove to no one. Stop feeling this entitlement. We're already seeing this entitlement with us being 5-1, and the fanfare isn't where it should be. They hadn't done this in 20 plus years, but because some of y'all expect them to do it, oh, well, who are y'all to expect them to do something they hadn't done in 20 plus years? I'll go back to what I said about Tua. Who were y'all to question Tua the way y'all were when you don't know the position, you don't know the game, you can't break down film, you couldn't do any of the above properly, but y'all were questioning Tua when he was flashing, especially last year, something we had been waiting for over 20 plus years since Marino retired. Beggars become choosers real quick, apparently, in the Miami Dolphin fan base. Show some gratitude, man. And I ain't talking directly to people in the chat. I'm talking to the people who are watching this or come across this and feel this way. And if the shoe fits, well, I'm sorry. Then this is towards you. And I go back to Connor Williams. Listen, I love that Connor wants to go. I love that Connor sees how big of a measuring stick game this could be. But at the same time, do I need Connor Williams for week 7 against the Philadelphia Eagles in prime time? Or do I need Connor Williams in January when the playoff starts as healthy as possible? Ask yourself this question. Right? You got to know when to be objective. Even as a fan, you got to understand that line. And I think that's a line you got to start being more objective with. Do I need Connor for week 7? Or do I need him in January? It's the same thing with is this win or loss the end-all be-all in Week 7, or is it a loss in January in the playoffs when they start the end-all be-all? Because that's the real end-all be-all. That's win or go home and sit on the couch. So we got Week 8. Hell, we could lose this week and then we could go into Frankfurt and beat the Chiefs. You don't know. Just saying. I expect them to win 2 out of 3 of this stretch, and they very well could win all 3. Now, could they go 1-2? Anything's possible on any given Sunday. But that's the reality of the situation, man. Stop looking at everything in such a vacuum. Stop. It's not the correct way to look at it, right? At all, really. So let's get into this, though. You don't start looking at a vacuum until you get into playoff seeding and playoff implication games and playoff games themselves. That's when you start looking at vacuums, man. So let's get into this because it's coming up on Halloween. Halloween. All of you people with kids who watch Blippi, you know what I'm saying. Yesterday in the afternoon, Jason Sanders, he created about $1.33 million in cap room by restructuring. So, where are the Dolphins right now? The Dolphins are at about $3.5 million worth of cap space right now. Now, I gathered some names where if the playoffs started today, if the trade deadline was today, if the playoffs started today, oh boy, would we be loving life, huh? But if the trade deadline's today, these are the guys that I would personally be looking at. And some of you guys should be familiar because we've played some of them. But listen, I want Devin White or Levante. Devin White, I want him, but he's going to cost too much money, right? He wants a brand new contract. He wants $20+ million. Listen, I'm calling the Bucks or the Seahawks, if they continue playing at best 500 football up until the trade deadline, I'm calling them, especially Levante. Bobby, I think, wants to stay on that West Coast. I'm calling Levante, and I'm saying, hey, Levante, you want to come up the street? You want to come and try and win another championship before you get out of here? Let's go. But I got 4 names for y'all that I'm looking at right now when I look at who's struggling. Because, listen, I'm not looking here for jabronis, all right? I'm looking here for guys that are going to make an impact, all right? And I'm going to do a trade target show. Don't worry. Probably do it on me and Neil's show. But we're going to do a trade target show. 110%. But listen, here's where I'm at. I don't want jabronis. I just don't. Pardon me. So, you're not going to hear me vouching for, guys that just have no business being vouched for. Like, you're not going to hear me vouch for. Listen, I know Denver. I know Denver, they've got some guys, or Pittsburgh, they got some guys too on the defensive tackle, but you're not going to hear me, vouch for like a Montravius Adams, you know what I mean? You're going to see me vouch for guys that I think fit what we're trying to do. And, and that's where I'm at. There's a couple linebackers I would like, another guy I would like from Seattle. I don't think Bobby would be willing to come here, but, Jordan Brooks. But again, you're going to have to pay him just like Devin White. He follows under that. So when I look at linebacker, 2 names that interest me that could be cheap, and I think one could be a pure rental. 2 guys that I really like, Josie Jewell from Denver. I think that's a good fit here. You pair him with David Long, right? And you can rotate Jerome in there if you want, but I think that's a good fit. And another guy, I really liked him before we played him. You guys saw how all over the field he was. I would like Frankie Lavu. Frankie Lavu is cheap right now. He's athletic. He's all over the field. He shows good instincts. I'm a Frankie Lavu fan. I think he's a very solid interior linebacker. And I think Frankie Lavu should be a target if they're looking to add an athletic guy with instincts, kind of like David Long. You know what I mean? Who can offer you something way more in coverage than what Jerome Baker does. Frankie Lavu would be a guy that I would look at. You know, and he's cheap. Frankie Lavu is cheap. And he's a good player, man. Y'all saw against Carolina how good he is. Y'all really did. And another player, listen, I don't think you're getting Derrick Brown because of how much that's going to cost. But a guy maybe you could try and pry away from if they're selling, because I know Terrace Marshall asked for a trade today. Shy Tuttle. I mean, you got 2 players on Carolina right now. You got 3. Hell, you could trade for Bradley Bozeman as the backup center behind Liam behind the former Raven can be the backup linebacker. The backup center behind. I'm thinking about linebackers so much. Can be the backup center behind Connor Williams. Bradley Bozeman's there, but anyways, linebacker and a middle defensive tackle guy. Carolina, they suck right now. They don't have a win. They're trying to stack draft picks to help out their young quarterback. Shy Tuttle. Shy Tuttle and Frankie Lavu. Those are 2 interesting names to watch from Carolina. I like Josie Jewell as well. I've been saying that name privately for the last couple weeks. Listen, I don't think you need to add a Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain is going to cost him. Hell, if you could add Patrick Surtain, you add Patrick Surtain. You pay that. But, Patrick Surtain, he's already been deemed untouchable, and I think the cost would just be stupid. Just be stupid right now. But, you look at center, there's not much available. There's really not a lot available right now at center. But Frankie Lavu, I secretly like him a lot, man. And, Levante David, if Tampa Bay keeps sucking, listen, we all like Devin White. Devin White's going to cost money, though. Devin White is going to cost money and assets. The guy wants $20+ million. Levante David, man, he's still producing at a high level. And you say, come here, play with us on a cheap on your contract, and try and win another championship. Levante David and David Long in the middle. Oh boy, even Frankie Lavu and that's very interesting. I'll get Frankie Lavu and Shy Tuttle in a package. I like it. I sat here. And the teams that I really targeted, you know what I mean? Because it was, to me, you had to be a little bit realistic and see who's really would be selling, right? And for me, I just went straight to the bottom, and I ID'd Carolina, the Giants, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Bears, the Cardinals, the Titans. Probably the biggest sellers right now. I didn't go to the Vikings because Lord knows Flores ain't giving anything to us off. And who do we want? We don't need Danielle Hunter. We don't. You know what I mean? Now Tennessee had a few interesting players available as well. Like they had the defensive tackle Autry. They had but I mean you ain't trading for like Jeffrey Simmons and stuff, right? But Autry, I was like, I'm looking at bigger picture than Autry. And the guys that I've named, I think, can change this defense a little bit more. Arizona didn't really have anything that was enticing. So, when I looked at those teams, to me, Devin White, we know he might be traded. And right now, Tampa Bay themselves, they're 3-2, so they might not even be selling, right? It's the same thing as, Seattle, is Seattle going to be a seller right now? They're 3-2 as well, right? Listen, we'd be hoping a little bit more. I think the guys who are available right now that make a lot of sense are Frankie Lavu, Shy Tuttle, Josie Jewell makes some sense there. So, and again, I'm going to make a full comprehensive as we get closer. And the reason why I didn't go in super in depth and bring y'all like a laundry list, right? We still got 12 days, meaning 2 games until the trade deadline, right? So we'll probably do something, the week before heading in. Maybe next week on Thursday, we'll do a trade deadline target show for all of y'all with me and Neil. Over 510 of y'all in the room. Please smash the like button, subscribe if you are new. Man, there are some interesting things about right now. Appreciate all of you. Yeah, like Bobby Okereke, they're not trading Bobby Okereke because they just paid Bobby Okereke, right? Like, that's why I didn't put Bobby Okereke in that. Because, hey, man, you listen, I wanted him as a free agent, right? But, he just got signed by the Giants. I don't see the Giants trading him. Or Bobby Okereke would be on that list, but that's why I didn't put him on that list, is because they just signed him. I don't see them turning around and trading him, and I didn't even look at his contract. I guarantee you if they traded him, they'd be taking a big contract hit. I'll even look at it right now. I didn't even look at the contract, but I can almost guarantee you he's probably almost untradeable in year one. So let me see here. Bobby Okereke. Right now, contract. Right now, he is. Oh no, he's tradable. They only save $1 million, but they take a 3.3 dead cap hit and a 9.6 dead cap hit next year. So $12 million dead cap over 2 years to save $1 million. And, I just don't see them trading him, Like, that's why I didn't have him on there. I don't think they're going to – that's bad practice in all sports to sign someone and trade them right away unless they're a veteran who asks to go to a winning team and you suck, right? So, but, again, I would take Bobby Okereke. I just didn't have him on it because I don't think they're going to trade him because they just signed him in the offseason. So, and, hey, right, the Colts – it's going to get worse for the Colts. And a guy that I would look at if, right now the Colts, let me throw another name for all y'all because, obviously they're 3-3. Richardson's out. They probably want a little help, in the draft. So draft picks matters for the Colts right now. A guy that I'd be looking to trade for, if you want to talk about a guy like that, another linebacker, listen, don't go after Shaq Leonard. I'd go after Zaire Franklin. If you could get Zaire Franklin from Indianapolis, that would be a big one. And then you look at a team like that, right? They got a young quarterback, so you can't target center. Center's going to be hard, man. You got to find like a team that's not good with like an aging quarterback or an aging offensive line that you can pluck from. Center's hard, man. Offensive line moves are real hard for guys that matter. Tart from Tennessee, again, does Tart, does Tart move trust me, I looked at Tennessee, but does Tart move the needle for you if we add him? That's where I'm sitting here at. Does he really move? Does Tierre Tart from Tennessee move the needle for us? He's not a good pass rusher on the interior, right? He only has I think he only has like 4 or 5 pressures this year. I know he had a ton of pressures last year. He had like 26 pressures last year. But every other year before that, he had like 5. Now, he did have 520 snaps last year. But, does Tart, you know what I mean? Now, Shy Tuttle, he's been all over the map as well, right? He's had 15 pressures in 1 year, 10 pressures in another, 7 years. They're basically the same thing, to be honest with you, Shy Tuttle. And I just like what Shy Tuttle offers from a run stopping standpoint as well. You know what I mean? I think Shy Tuttle's a better run stopper than Tart. Right now, if you look at it, Tuttle has had he had 25 run stops last year, 24 the year before, whereas Tart last year he had 23 run stops, but then he had 5 the year before that and 3 the year before that, whereas, Shy Tuttle, he had, 25, 24, 16, and 12. He's never had a year with less than 12 run stops. And when he had 12 run stops, it was only on 160 run defensive snaps, right? Like last year, he had 25 on 285 snaps in run defense. So, he's a beast, man. Shy Tuttle's a beast. So, listen. I think we need linebacker help too, big time. But yeah, that's what it looks like with that cap created. We got $3.5 million. We got some room to play. There's some names to definitely watch here. So listen, there's interior defensive line and interior linebacker help. It's center. I keep saying it. It's center that's going to be really finicky if you're looking to upgrade there. It ain't going to be easy. Let me put it that way. All right? So, this week, though, it's a big week. It is a big week as we get into Tua versus Hurts. Round 1. This is the first time they have met in the NFL, and you see their ranks over the last 2 seasons between the two of them. Tua Tagovailoa, 3rd in total QBR. Hurts is 5th. Tua is number 1 in yards per attempt. Hurts is 5th. 50-yard completions, Tua is 2nd. Hurts is 3rd, but the numbers, my friends, they get even deeper than that, because right now, Tua Tagovailoa, man, you look at his stats right now, he is on absolute fire with what he's doing. Right now, Tua is number 1 in the NFL in passing yards at 1,876. All right, like crazy. While Hurts, he's 8th. He has 1,542. Now, in terms of passing touchdowns, Tua Tagovailoa has 14. Hurts has 7 only. Hurts also has 7 interceptions to Tua's 5. Remember, Tua, he's first, tied with Kirk Cousins for first in the NFL with 14. Jalen, Tua and Kirk Cousins are number 1, while Jalen Hurts, he's down there tied for middle of the pack, right? I think he's tied for like 13th right now in the NFL right now. So yeah, he's it's a what, like 5-way tie. Now, in terms of sacks, Tua, he's only taken 6. Jalen Hurts, he's taken 14. So Jalen Hurts is like middle of the pack and taking sacks. Tua, he's at the bottom basically. Now completion percentage. Tua Tagovailoa, he's number 2 in the NFL at 71.1%. While you look at Hurts again, middle of the pack in that 14 range at 66.2%. And, I mean, if we're taking QBR into a vacuum this year, Tua is right now 3rd in QBR at 74.7. Jalen Hurts is 10th, and he's at 59.9. When you look at passer rating, Tua is number 1 in the NFL at 114.1. And right now, Jalen Hurts, he's 20th in the NFL. He is 84.7. So we're getting into this round 1 matchup, and as a passer, it's not even close right now who the best in the NFL right now is between Tua and Jalen Hurts. Now, obviously, Jalen Hurts, he's going to make a lot of things happen outside of the pocket. There's no doubt about it. That's one of the things that made him, great in college, and that's one of the things that makes him great right now. I mean, you look at him already in this season so far. I mean, rushing the football, he's already got 253 yards. He's averaging about 4 yards per carry. He's got 5 touchdowns. He's, what's funny is he's good for 12 touchdowns total, and Tua still has more passing touchdowns than his passing and rushing combined. So, I mean, he hasn't had it. He's only had 2 games over 300 yards. That offense just doesn't look the same. So round 1, man. And where we're going with this is the Get Up crew. And I'm going to play the audio attached to a picture from the actual segment. The Get Up crew, they talked about it today. I'm going to play the audio segment for you. And they talked about it. And they said, who would they take, Hurts or Tua? And the answers might surprise you. So let's play that for all y'all.
Tua, I think it's a good game, but I think after the Jalen Hurts loss to your Jets,
Marcus Spears was the only one, as you can see from the image.
To make a statement.
The game is in Philly, and this is sort of the latest installment. It seems like we have a new game of the year every week or so, and this is another. And that question, again, was about more touchdowns in this game between the two of them. But here's the question I think is really interesting, because these two will be tied together forever, and most people know why. Jalen Hurts was the starting quarterback for Alabama. He was replaced by Tua at halftime of the national championship game, and the rest is history. They will be linked forever. So the question is, who's better, Tua or Jalen Hurts? I asked everybody here. Answers are interesting to me. Neek, why do you say Jalen?
Well, I mean, we've seen what Jalen's accomplished, and we've seen that Jalen, despite the fact that he missed a couple games last year, he doesn't have as serious an injury concern as you have with Tua. And his athleticism and running ability, again, because he doesn't have that serious injury concern, I think makes him a more dynamic quarterback. And there's certain things that happen when you get deep into the playoffs. There's a certain amount of respect that we give you and a certain amount of confidence that you add to yourself. This man played Super Bowl MVP caliber quarterback, with the exception of that one fumble. Like, we'd be talking about him very differently. And that's a place that Tua's never been. Like, we haven't seen him there, so he's going to have to get there before we put him on the same, at least for me, we put him on the same tier with
I want to see Tua's picture once, Marcus. Why do you say Tua?
Because the word right is in there.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
right now.
we're talking about this year. I didn't think we
we're
was
talking
going
this
back
year
throughout the history of their career.
No,
so
right
maybe
now. Like, who's better?
Yeah, Tua. Tua is better right now. Outside of the Buffalo Bills game, Tua has operated his offense as well as anybody in the NFL. And I get the concerns about, well, what if these things are not available? What if the first read is not there? Well, it's been there a whole hell of a lot this year. This was the quarterback that put 70 on the team this year. I don't want to get that misconstrued. And we can talk about weapons, and you can attribute that. But Jalen Hurts also has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and the best offensive line in the NFL. Jalen Hurts right now has 7 interceptions. He's not playing well. It's okay to say that. We know Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback, but he's not playing to the standard that we think he should be playing at right now. We've talked about how this offense has sputtered. You know what offense ain't sputtered in 98% of the games this year? The Miami Dolphins. The dude that's leading that offense is Tua. So right now, I'll take Tua and those weapons and what they're doing offensively over what I'll take what Philly is doing right now.
Marcus makes some great points. I think when you look at the Dolphins, the area that you can criticize or wonder about is their schedule. When they have played a really good team, it was the Bills, and they lost. So yes, I think if they go into Philly and beat the Eagles, I think it legitimizes not just what we think and what we hope, but it is actual proof now. Like, okay, the Dolphins can go on the road and beat a really good team, a team that was just in the Super Bowl. It's not just about putting up gaudy numbers in the regular season. It is about having that resiliency and having to win those grinder games, like those bully games. Like we've seen the Eagles do that. We've seen teams do that. The Dolphins just haven't done that yet, and if they do it, we'll talk about it.
But I think I could make the argument that the fact that they haven't had to do it is the best argument on Tua's side. We are living in a moment. We talked about this on the radio yesterday. Offense is way down in the NFL. Scoring is way down in the NFL. Miami has more yards in their first 6 games than any team in the history of the sport. You can't play better than Tua is playing. And maybe I am just inclined to want to give him extra credit because I have questioned him from the beginning. I was never convinced about Tua, and I'm wrong. He's so accurate.
There you
It's
go.
ridiculous. The injury concern
Greenberg
is
admits he's
always
wrong,
going to be
baby.
there with him. If you told me right now he was going to stay healthy, my answer to this question would be Tua.
That's the biggest if, right? I mean,
See, even
that's the biggest
Greenberg's
if.
taking Tua
I'm just
now,
telling you,
baby.
though,
Let's
when you
go.
look at Philadelphia, and I understand their struggles, Steichen moving on to Indianapolis, new offensive coordinator with Jalen Hurts. But I agree with Kimberly. They have to legitimize who they are as it's a big game for them, much bigger than it is for the Eagles, in my opinion. And when you look at this Eagles offense, I will tell you, and I lived it on a sideline. Jalen Hurts is a problem because he is a twofold player that you have to constantly. Now, are you gonna lose some battles to win the war for the Eagles? Are they gonna run him all season? No. But when it counts and you're in that red zone and you understand what they have, his ability to pull the ball down and make things happen with his legs and his physicality of getting in the end zone, you can't put Tua in that situation because of the injury concern. So you have to deal with a double-head monster in the red zone. I'm telling you, in playoff games, that's what's going to separate.
I think
teams.
Marcus might be right about Tua being better at this moment, but the point that Jeff's making is huge. There are no quarterbacks in football that do not have the ability to scramble or run at some level. Tua has that ability, but because of his concussion concerns, no matter how important the game is, there will not be a zone
Where's
read
the
to Tua.
concussion concern?
And that's
He's
something
6
that
weeks
every
in, we
offense
haven't
in
even had a
modern football
concern.
has.
We like to use the term superpower. Tua's superpower is his accuracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the best superpower.
I mean, Mike Greenberg, shout out to him for admitting he was wrong. That takes a real man to do it. And I always say, real men and real women can admit they were wrong. We got a lot of people in this community who do not fit that description. Greenberg, shout out to you for being a real man, admitting you were wrong, because you were. Marcus Spears, you were right. He said it. The key word is right now. Right now, it's not even close. I just rifled off the numbers before we got into this. Right now, it's not even close of who you would take. It's Tua Tagovailoa. And Marcus even said, and he's right, don't give me the arguments. Don't give me the weapons argument, because you're talking about the best offensive line in the NFL over there, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift. Let's not talk about they don't have weapons over there. And they got a damn good defense to boot as well. So right now it's Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa is the best quarterback in the NFL as of October 19th, 2023. Could it change by the end of the season? Sure, anything can happen. But as we're speaking right now, heading into Week 7 on October 19th, Tua Tagovailoa is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. That is. He's playing at the highest level. That's just a fact. That is literally just a fact. Over 530 of you in the room. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. And if you didn't see it, another guy's playing at a real high level. And another reason why they're not going to go after these Saquons or these Josh Jacobs or a Derrick Henry. Raheem the Dream named AFC Offensive Player of the Week. It's Mostert's first AFC Offensive Player of the Week honor. And with rookie Devon Achane, they become the first pair of running backs from the same team to win Offensive Player of the Week honors in the same season since 2016, when D'Angelo Williams and Le'Veon Bell in Week 1 and Week 14 won the award for the Pittsburgh Steelers, each of them. So this hasn't been done. What Achane and what Mostert did this year so far hasn't been done since 2016. And check this out. If you'll remember, guys, this is Achane's won it, Mostert's won it, and Tua's won it. So that means we've already won it 3 weeks out of the first 6 in the AFC East. And the last time the Dolphins won AFC Offensive Player of the Week awards in the same season was in 2016, when running back Jay Ajayi earned the award 3 times and quarterback Matt Moore earned the honor once. But the last time the Dolphins had 3 different players win Offensive Player of the Week in the AFC, it was 1994. Dan Marino, Bernie Parmalee, and Mark Ingram won it that year, and they were the 3 Dolphins. So the Dolphins, we are 6 weeks in, and the Dolphins are doing something that we haven't done since 94, and it took a whole season for them to do it in 94 with Marino, Parmalee, and Mark Ingram. Tell me that ain't special. Tell me that ain't special right now. And you know what's special? My boy John C, and it's who I think it is. John C, keep up the perfect show, kid. Hey, man. John C, I appreciate you for donating. I love you, bro. And I'm pretty sure I know what John C this is. And if it's who I think it is, congratulations again, kid. Man, no one deserves that success like you, bro. You worked your ass off. Do the damn thing. I know I already texted you and I told you, but from now on, when people talk smack to me and I tell them to refer to my lawyer, I'm talking to you, kid. Appreciate you. Hey, listen, OG Barry. It's not John Cena, because if it was John Cena, I wouldn't see the donation, right? So shout out to John C. Appreciate you, homie, man. Appreciate you so much. Finn's Rule coming through with the factoid from the chat of the day. Even in the great Dan Marino's career, he only won 5 games in Buffalo. Just wait until the Bills come to Miami. We will win again like we did last season. I'm right there with you, brother. And hey, we're on the trajectory where we might be resting people to get ready for the playoffs, and they might be fighting for the playoff life. So I'm just saying, baby. Woo! So, continuing on, because we ain't done. Guys, there's going to be a special airing on Sunday. It's fully out right now, but go check it out. Here's a clip from it. Man, I love our coach.
How has becoming a father made you a better head coach?
I think, ironically, they're similar in that it's a servitude role. I'm so proud of you. I mean, you are everything you wanted to be and more. Being a dad is very much like being a head coach in that you're constantly concerned about the well-being of other people.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact I couldn't be any of the things that are the most important things to me. Father, husband, man, and then head coach. All of those are a consequence of wanting to be something for someone. To not exist for yourself is a beautiful thing.
Man, I love the culture this man's created. I love our head coach. I'm sorry. I just do. He is an absolute beast. Hey, man, you don't got to... I like these guys. Okay, that's hilarious. Yo, man, whatever you do, don't block the KC fan. He's talking smack. You can let him talk smack. Don't worry, we're going to beat him. Shout out to Smut Peddler. He says, woo! He's got that Ric Flair drip. And that is his first donation to the channel. It's a $10 donation. Appreciate you with that Ric Flair drip. Appreciate you. But you know what? Shout out to all of us fathers who love the game of football. We can kind of understand what Mike McDaniel was saying a little bit there. And man, shout out to Mike, man. The culture he's created and how much he cares for our players and how much he's got them to buy in while literally reinventing the Shanahan offense and making it the Mike McDaniel offense. It's just a beautiful thing to watch right now. It really is just a beautiful thing to watch and a beautiful thing to take in. It really is, man. It really is. So, I'm loving it, man. I'm loving every single day of it. Let me just put it that way. All right. So, quickly, I wanted to go over here some talking points from Fangio today. And this is what happened. Dolphins defensive coordinator Vic Fangio offered insight on his defensive backfield Thursday with Jalen, Ramsey, and Nick Needham set to return in the weeks to come, and Xavien Howard's status in question for Sunday's game in Philadelphia. Howard, who left Carolina game with groin, returned to practice on a limited basis Thursday after missing Wednesday's session. His status for Sunday is yet to be determined. Fangio said we'll see how he progresses the rest of the week. If he cannot play, Fangio has decisions to make regarding what cornerbacks get snaps beyond Kohu and Eli Apple. Cam Smith, who played his first 4 defensive snaps of the season late in the Carolina game, is getting more reps in practice, progressing. You never know when Smith might play because of the team's injury situation. Fangio said Smith's 4 snaps against the Panthers were uneventful because he wasn't targeted. Fangio used Perry Nickerson as the 4th cornerback instead of Bethel against Carolina because he was impressive in practice. I thought he was due an opportunity. He played well. He's quick, fast, instinctive. He's never played much. Fangio did not indicate if the Dolphins will activate Needham this week or next week. He must be moved from the physically unable to perform list on the 53 roster by next Wednesday to be eligible this season to play. Fangio said he views Needham as a nickel or dime cornerback or a safety and an emergency boundary cornerback. Needham, who sustained a torn Achilles tendon in a game last October, has primarily been working on the scout team, but has received some non-snap team scouts. He has been a limited participant in 4 practices so far, entering Thursday. We hope he can help, if not this week, then the weeks to come. He's practiced on the scout team. I'm anxious to see him. Everyone has talked about him. I haven't seen him. Hopefully, we'll be able to get something out of him. If you are versatile, it helps. We have another week before we can make a decision on him. We can use him this week if we choose. The Dolphins' defensive backfield must deal with Eagles Pro Bowl receiver A.J. Brown, who is second in the league in receiving yards, and possibly Devontae Smith, who missed Wednesday's practice with a hamstring injury. As for Ramsey, he practiced on a limited base Wednesday for the first time since August, and he'll be activated sometime in the next 3 weeks, but not this week. Fangio said he's hopeful Ramsey's return is sooner than later. Are there schemes and wrinkles in this defense where Fangio hasn't used but will use when he returns? Anytime you have a great player at any position, it will affect how you call the game and how you schematically play. He fits that bill. He has done a great job with his rehab. He attacked it like I've not seen many people attack a rehab. Sometimes those great players are something in their DNA that they heal faster. He's one of those guys, all due to the work he's put in. We're anxious to get him back, but we have to make sure he's ready to play before we put him out there. It was nice to see him out there. Will Ramsey play the star role? Too early to say. Maybe not quite as much as he did with the Rams, Fangio said. And other things from him. He said linebacker Jalen Phillips will remain on a pitch count because he only got 30 snaps against Carolina. Fangio was a consultant with the Eagles last season, but said his time there wouldn't be much of a help. So there you go. Answer the question we asked. He said, I was giving them more information than they were giving me. If there's any advantage to be gained by me being there last year, it's in their favor. Fangio, on preparing his defense to face the Eagles, said, Jalen Hurts has no weaknesses. I've always liked him. I told Eagles Executive Vice President Harry Roseman in 2021, he has his quarterback, his running ability is tops, makes him hard to defend, excellent scrambler, great leader. Fangio and the Eagles' mastery of their offensive line push Hurts to get first downs and 3rd and 4th and short. Credit to them for utilizing their rules to their advantage. It's fair. They would have just as much success with the normal sneak as they do now. Fangio said the Eagles probably have the best offensive line from a talent standpoint in the NFL. I mean, he ain't lying. That is a very talented team over there in Philadelphia. And the interesting takeaway for me there, guys, over 510 of you in the room, smash that like button. The interesting take for me there is this. Needham, me and EM Dolphin fan have been talking since we came on here in 2020 about maybe seeing Needham with some snaps at safety. And look at, he sees him as a nickel or a dime back with some safety potential. And he even talks about how he needs to be a little versatile. So I like what I saw there. I like what I heard there. I like what I saw there. That's very intriguing to me in terms of what he's playing there. Now, Phillips continuing to be on a pitch count. It helps when AVG is playing at the level he's playing at. You can afford to be at that pitch count. And Jalen Ramsey, listen, I think there's a couple guys who can play that star role. I think Cam Smith will eventually be able to play that star role. I think Devon Holland can play that star role. Man, Ramsey, he's going to change the look of this defense, and I just cannot wait for that defense to get up the uplift and the upgrade with him. It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be real good to see. And, something for me is, I like how no-nonsense Fangio is. He's not taking away from the Eagles utilizing the rules into their favor. He's not one of these guys crying and saying, no, he plays as is. Man, looks like he'd be a fun guy to golf with, eh? He just plays as it lies. That's how it is. And, even admitting, hey, they might get more of an idea of how I prepare for offenses than how I can prepare for their offense itself based off their work with me. He's just an honest guy. He's a straight shooter, keeps it 110%. And, listen, hopefully, obviously he's fair to an extent too, because Perry Nickerson was getting those snaps and those reps based off the effort he was putting in practice. He rewards players who put in the work. So you got to like that. It's very interesting to me. Hey, listen, and he's clearly, he slow plays his rookies too. I mean, he's been known to do that, but I mean, Perry Nixon's been in the league for how long? You know what I mean? Like, that's just how this guy operates. It is what it is. I mean, look at Brandon Jones isn't getting a lot of snaps, because he's even slow playing guys that are coming back off injuries. I think Needham's going to be, if they activate him next week, he's going to be slowly massaged in here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, man. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Guys, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Something I wanted to ask you guys before I get out of here, does Tyreek Hill have a legitimate argument to be the MVP? Now, I think they would give the MVP to Tua if the season ended today, and they'd give the Offensive Player of the Year potentially to Tyreek. But, Tyreek currently has 814 yards through 6 games. He's currently on pace for 2,036 yards. He needs just 186 receiving yards over the next 2 games to become the first player in the Super Bowl era to have 1,000+ yards in the first 8 games. He's clearly the most the most valuable non-QB in the NFL right now. Can you make the legitimate argument between that Tyreek Hill should be pushing Tua for the MVP? I think you can. But I think the media will play it out where they would give Tyreek the Offensive Player of the Year. But I want to hear your in the chat. Who's your MVP, Tyreek or Tua? Put it in the chat live right now. Put it in the chat. Who's your MVP? And if you're watching this after, leave a comment if you're watching this after. I want to hear who your MVP is and why, all right? Guys, like I said, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. I'm going to be live tomorrow at 5 p.m., all right? And we are going to go over and the primetime matchup on Sunday is we're going to preview the Dolphins and Eagles game. It's going to be a good one. You're not going to want to miss it. Make sure you click that little bell so the notifications are on and you know when I go live tomorrow. But expect me around 5 p.m. and we're going to break down the Eagles-Dolphins matchup. I appreciate all of y'all for coming in. Still around 500 of you in the room. Smash that like button. Love each and every one of you. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you to all of you who donated. Thank you to all of you who took the time to smash the like button. And thank you to all of you who subscribed, who have been subscribed. Love each and every one of you. Patreons and YouTube channel members, be on the lookout. I got something coming for y'all in the next few days. It might be today. It might be tomorrow. I'll let y'all know, obviously, with the upload. But until next time, tomorrow night at 5 p.m. for the preview show, you're in no time it is. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We might be debuting the new intro for the live reaction on Sunday, so you don't want to miss that, baby. Fins up. I will see all y'all on the next one. 5-1. Let's go, baby. We are the head of the table. Fins up, baby. Love all.